As Moon Boys scramble to scoop up as much discounted Bitcoin as possible, emotionally challenged $600 net worthers are panicking, selling, and completely giving up. But are we boned? Or are we about to initiate the bone? So if you understand, for every time you get dumped on, you pump on in twice as much. Hit that like and subscribe. Get set up with FMX or BITUNIX below if you want Bitcoin, altcoins, or trade. And without any further ado, let's completely and absolutely take a look at the price of Bitcoin, which, as you can see, over the last 5 days has initiated what we like to call a little bit of a dump. And panic has never been higher, as we talked about yesterday as well. The fear and greed index dipped to its lowest levels in years on the daily chart. But something even bigger than that is that the CME gap, which is something we've also been talking about for months and months, now has almost entirely been filled. You can see it almost went down to about 78K right here. Actually, like the high 78Ks is where we've gone so far. But as you can see on the daily chart, quite a large wick. So is the dump over? Or are we only beginning to get dumped on? Well, let's take a look at a few things here. So more than 74% of realized Bitcoin losses came from holders who bought in the last month. The market is baptizing noobs and they're folding. Basically, the people panicking, the people that are leaving the comments, oh, it's over, here's another 4 years. Those people panicking are the new people, as always. It's never anyone with experience or someone that's been through multiple cycles or even probably an entire cycle. And as you can see by the data here, most of these realized losses are from people that have barely been in this market. So it is pretty much a rite of passage to get dumped on. Let's be honest. You don't deserve to make money in this market unless you get dumped on at least a couple of times. But if we're being honest, if you really want to get pumped on and make millions of dollars, you are going to get dumped on. Okay? There's not a single person in this space that will tell you in order to get pumped on, you don't need to get dumped on. No, you need to get dumped on. That's just how the pumping works. For every dump, there is an equal and potentially even bigger pump around the corner. Now that's pretty big. But if we take a look, also Julian on X highlighted something very interesting, that a lot of people are panicking in the market right now, but this is his take and the reality of what's happening. Everything, especially in crypto right now, is a direct consequence of tightening of financial conditions in the last quarter of 2024. When they tightened, liquidity got drained, economic surprises started to slow down. Basically, what he says is that this will be reversing next month. Financial conditions have been easing rapidly over the last 2 months, with the dollar being down, yields down, oil down, and that's setting the stage for recovery in the data soon. Remember, financial conditions are always leading, and that with Bitcoin dropping below 80K, the tightening of all of the policy and everything going on globally and macroeconomically is now fully reflected in the price. Could we go lower? He says, sure. And I personally think we still could go lower, especially when you take a look at that CME gap. I would like to see this even maybe, but again, this is a big wick, but I would like to see this get filled a little bit more, if we could even go down to the mid or low 70s. But what he's saying here is if you're still bearish, do not get too comfortable. Be greedy when others are fearful. And as we all know, are others fearful? This is the most fear we've seen in the market in 3 years. Yes, people are fearful. Is this a good buying opportunity? Well, history would tell us, and the data would tell us, yes. We can never know for sure, right? But using the data that we have, it would tell us that this is a good buying opportunity. We also see that a very interesting way to look at this is the global M2 money supply, a 10-week lead on Bitcoin. And we've seen the monetary supply rising. However, before this, it was actually dumping, and Bitcoin has basically caught up to this dump. What the M2 money supply now would be signaling with a 10-week lead is that Bitcoin's next major trend is to continue to the upside. Famous basketball player, friend of Michael Jordan, you could even say, having this insane Bitcoin tweet that shows things start to move about 315 days after the halving. Yesterday was that day. March should be interesting. We begin the new month in just hours, and are we about to have a March to remember, a pump to pump on in? We also see that amazing buying opportunity for Bitcoin here, according to Mr. Crypto. Buy the fear. Whenever we see this massive fear, which we have seen, it is historically good buying opportunities. That doesn't mean that we're going to start pumping tomorrow, but basically what this is showing is that realistically, it's very, very likely that, you know, we're at the bottom. Even if it takes us a couple days or a couple weeks to bounce, or even if we go down a little bit more, for the most part, most of the losses, according to this data, are now priced in. Most of the dumping is now priced in. The CME gap is something I've been talking about for a while. It has been in the back of my mind. It did fill rather quick, actually, in terms of like, it didn't take us very long to get there. Just think, literally a week ago, we were at 100K almost. And fast forward now, in just the last week, we've had about a 20% dump. From all-time highs, we are down basically almost 30%, which is par for the course for these bull market corrections. 20 to 40%, 30 being right in the middle, par for the course for these bull market corrections. This is nothing new, okay? So you're trying to paint this like scary picture of, wow, everything's broken. Not necessarily. We see this all the time. In fact, we were overdue for a correction, right? As you can see, for example, this 50-week moving average, we haven't gotten down to it yet. It's around $75,000 per Bitcoin, but it's right here. And the last time we tested it was back in September. So about 6 months ago. It's been a while. And resetting this momentum is not a bad thing. As well, we do have to factor in the fact that the stock market, the SPX, has been dumping, and that is not helping the price of Bitcoin. In fact, it's contributing to the dump. You look at the daily chart as well. Look at this massive wick right on the 100-day moving average. Some life being potentially brought into Bitcoin here. We look at the weekly as well. That $75,000 level, right where that 50-week moving average is. Hey, and as well, the DXY, I believe, is personally having a dead cat bounce. After really going down since the middle of January, I think this is a dead cat bounce in my opinion. But yeah, I think this is going to reverse soon. I think that overall, the trend, actually, MicroStrategy as well is currently at its 100-day moving average. MicroStrategy is actually down 56% from its all-time high set in November at $552 per share. Now basically slashed right in half. Kind of nuts, right? Way more volatile than Bitcoin, apparently. But either way, this is not a time to be panicking. But a lot of people are panicking. In fact, it is quite literally the most fearful this market has been. And we already knew that, though. Like, before this dump even happened, the market was spooked. We were trading in this range for 3 months. And if you would like read on X or on YouTube comments, people were like panicking here. Not necessarily this whole time, but especially just the last like month or so. People were losing their marbles, just thinking, wow, you know, cycle's over, the top is in. And now with this dump, oh my gosh, yeah, the amount of people that think it's over has grown exponentially. And that is exactly what you want to see before major legs up. Now, again, I don't think the major leg up is going to happen like that, but this is truly a shakeout. It is a real bull market shakeout. It's the first real bull market shakeout we've had this fast, this entire cycle pretty much. We had like this trading downward sideways in the last summer in 2024. And it was really boring and long. This one was much quicker. It did not take us long to get well below the 21-week moving average. But in fact, we haven't even gone down to the 50-week moving average. And I think that's still possible. So I personally think for the most part, most of the dumping is over. But I absolutely don't think it's guaranteed that the dumping is over. I still think we could go a little lower. But basically, with that being said, I personally don't think these would be bad entries whatsoever. Even if we go a little lower, I think for the most part, right around that 30% from all-time high level, which is pretty much where we're at. We're at like 27, 28%. Actually, we were. Now we're at like 24, 25%, so because it's bounced a little bit. But either way, I think this represents a good buying opportunity. I don't think this market's going to start pumping immediately. I think at this point we're going to have some time to level out and cool off a little bit, maybe similar to what we've seen in previous bull markets. I mean, the last bull market, we actually crashed down 55% and then still went on to make new all-time highs for Bitcoin. And actually on that second bounce is where altcoins made the real gains. Remember, this right here, this is Bitcoin. Alts didn't really have a lot of pumping here. Bitcoin crashed and then it went on and barely squeaked out a new all-time high, but alts really went banana mode on this second Bitcoin all-time high. So will we see something similar? Maybe. But overall, With this amount of fear in the market, I tend to think that the majority of people, which are fearful, are not going to be correct. And get signed up with Femex or BITUNIX below if you want to buy Bitcoin, altcoins, or trade. With that, from the good.